start. So people could just make their way down the room to the chairs if you like, please, and we'll kick these off. Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear that from the back? Yep. Okay, thumbs up. Thank you. Okay, I'll start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land for the meeting on today, the Wurundjeri people, and I pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. I'd just like to acknowledge our councillors today, and Joe McCracken, MP, and I understand that Martha Hayward and the Mayor Robert Vance will be here shortly. So the purpose of the meeting today is to provide information to members of the community that have been impacted by this fire event. So we have a number of the agencies here to be able to pass on information and to answer any questions perhaps after the presentations. It's not really a time for debate about why this or why that, or why this or why not this. That'll be sort of another time to be able to unpack those issues. It's really about providing information that you need right at the moment. And this meeting is being live streamed so that people online can actually hear the same messaging. So I might just call on Jerry Van Delt from Pyrenees Shire Council, who's our Municipal Recovery Manager, just to say a couple of words before we begin.
Great, thanks Jim. Welcome everyone. I'd probably like to start by thanking our neighbouring councils for the effort they put in setting up the relief centres. Ararat and Maryborough had relief centres set up last Thursday, so they went right through and they had quite a few people come in. So that was a really big effort on their part. Where we're at the moment, we're waiting on the rapid assessments to be done, which will give us an overview of the damage that's been done across our municipality, and then we'll go out and do the more detailed secondary impacts. And that will then feed into how we set up our recovery centres and what our recovery will look like. So that will happen over the next, say, 4 or 5 days. And then during next week, we'll be able to give more detail on what the recovery effort looks like. A couple of other points I'd like to make is the council's website. We're keeping that up to date. We're updating that regularly with a lot of the contacts that you may need to make with DFFH or any of the other agencies here. So I'd like 2 things. One is to let you know that we're updating that website, but also to ask the agencies to make sure that we have the relevant information to put up on that on our web page. It's intended to be a one-stop shop for our community. So that's one place to look at. I think I'm hoping that people will get a bit of a rest and reprieve this weekend, but the work really does start now that the emergency is over. The recovery will take a long time, and we'll be working towards helping our community. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks Jerry, and to all those councils that supported the effort in the relief space. I'll hand over to John Roth, who is the incident controller for this event, and to be able to sort of give us some background as to what happened last couple of days, and also just to pass on thanks for the coordinated effort and just being able to prevent a bigger emergency from occurring than what already happened. So congratulations to you and the team, and thanks very much. And thank you.
Thanks very much, Jim. Yeah, cool. And good day to all our guys online today. So John Rowe, I'm currently the Deputy Incident Controller today. I was the incident controller last week when the fire broke out, and for the subsequent few days. So pretty closely involved in what happened and what went on, but also heavily involved still this week as well. So firstly, thanks to the people who are here today, one for coming along to keep yourselves updated, but also over the last week and a half, I know there's been some pretty significant impacts probably on some of you, your friends, families, and community, and you've been bombarded with a lot of information to take in, decipher, and then make decisions based on what you're being provided. It's been a pretty dynamic environment, pretty fast moving for the agencies. For us to try and keep up with what's happening on those really bad days is pretty challenging. But then just share that information with you guys as well. Now some of you will probably know more than me, which might be hard in some areas if you've sort of got a personal experience of sort of the fire in your property or friends, etc. And it all helps paint the overall picture. So with that, again, you all know this is the Thursday last that's when the fire started. Ran really hard towards or through the bush, out of the pasture, and then started sliding towards Beaufort. Wind change pushed it sort of northeasterly direction. And then it sort of went quiet for sort of a number of days. There was still, in those few days, there was still a lot of fire activity in a couple of areas which were of great concern to us as fire agencies. With that predicted weather that didn't insulate on Wednesday, sort of the hot northerly blustery wind. It was a pretty horrible day actually, even without a fire. And then that wind change came through as well. So once the fire had done its initial run on the Thursday, our work towards Wednesday this week was really aimed at trying to strengthen everything that we could to help contain the fire to where it was. Now, I'm sure you would have seen the potential impact map, and that map was generated by our what we call our fire behaviour analysts. So they're sort of expert in predicting how fast the fire will run, how far it will spot, and things like that. So what we presented on that day was a worst case scenario, which I think was a really good thing to do. It didn't hide anything. It said if things go really badly wrong, that's what could have happened. So as it turned out, it didn't, and it didn't largely to the planning work that went into it. Really, all the guys and girls online, whether you're a volunteer, work with FFMB, and other support agencies, they did an amazing job in holding it to where it got to on Wednesday. So we got really challenged on Wednesday in that late afternoon, last probably 3 hours before the sun went down. And I don't know how you describe it, it was a real dogfight. For those who were close by, you would have seen where the fire spotted out, had breakaways. And what we did when we started having troubles, we lifted or launched all of our aircraft that we had available to us. On the day we had 19 either in Ballarat stored. The majority of them would be water bombing aircraft or retardant laying aircraft. So what we did was we got them in the air and got them closer to the incident. So when we did have an issue, the response time from our aircraft was minimal. So that was, I think, that was probably one of the key strategies to the success we had on the day. Now, aircraft don't put fires out. They certainly stop the spread of a fire, and then the ground crews will come in behind and do the hard work to put those fires out. But we also had a couple of water bombing helicopters just patrolling all day on that day because we knew the conditions were going to be so bad. And again, that's not something we would normally do, but just given the fact we had this massive fire in the landscape, had the conditions we had, we just needed to make sure, one, we could detect stuff really quickly, or any problems, and then we could respond from the air and then follow that up with ground crews. So a couple of key things on that day was we had a spot fire sort of break out just north of Raglan. Luckily that was in the grassland. For sort of heavy helicopters, they were able to get hold of that. Ground crews follow up, and the same up north near pipeline track for those who know that area, up sort of in the plantation country. Again, anyone who's been on the back of the track, been involved, knows someone, got a family member, thanks to everyone who's been involved. Without everyone out there, we don't achieve what we achieved the other day. It was quite remarkable given the weather that we had, so whole team effort. I'd like to also acknowledge, I think I heard there Jim just talking about City Ballarat, Pyrenees, and I think we also had Goldfields, Shire as well, all contributing with relief centres and staffing and water carrying vehicles, all that sort of stuff. All magnificent, and everyone, doesn't matter where the boundary is, all hands on deck on a day like that. With our community messaging, you'll see now we're back to one advice message. So the fire behaviour is, well, obviously it's not running across the countryside anymore. There are still hotspots within the sort of the current fire boundary, and our crews over the coming days, that's a real focus for them, is to be blacking out the fire around the edge and then further in as time goes on. That combined with hazard tree assessment and treatment. So what does that mean? We've got people trained to identify trees that have been impacted by fire or wind, work out which trees may be a hazard to our people or to communities, and then we've got people on machinery who can come in and actually probably fell those trees if that's what's required. So that's a key task for mainly day shift. If we don't have to do that work at night, we won't. Much safer to do that during daylight. Focuses will be obviously sort of Raglan on Elmhurst Road, the key thoroughfares, the main Mount Cole Road. And as we continue, there's a lot of minor or lesser forest roads and tracks that we'll need to treat, so we can then open it to the public as well down the track. So we talked about sort of the blacking out, the hazard tree work, traffic management points or road closures. You'll see from today, a bit earlier today, those have been, the area restricted has been reduced. So there are still traffic management points in place. And it's all back to now local resident access is permitted, which has been permitted now for a couple of days. We're still trying to sort of restrict just the general public access to the areas that have been impacted. We're just trying to give the locals as much time as possible to get themselves back into the houses where they can, assess damage, start to making their plans for things going forward. We are also now looking at Residents Plus, where we've got farmers who might need to bring a feed truck in for their livestock, things like that. So not just the residents, but also where there's businesses involved, so allowing access for people there to help those businesses keep running. And obviously livestock feeds is a pretty key one. That's probably the most of it around the fire leading up to Wednesday and where we're at the moment. We will still be running what we call a line scan aircraft. It can run any time of day or night. They used to have to run at night with their cameras, but now they can run any time of day, not like infrared, things like that. They can detect where the heat still is in the fireground. And we back that up with a small helicopter that has similar sort of equipment, but just smaller, that can sort of fly the fire edge, and they can really pinpoint where there's heat in the ground, and we can then direct our ground crews to those hotspots where they will, it's a stump or a log, they can break them open, put water on them, put them out, things like that. That's part of our blacking out process. So that will be ongoing for a little while. I'd love a bit of rain, but there's none in the outlook. We might get the odd mill or two of rain, which is really not going to do much for us on fireground, except to maybe make the tracks that are currently really dusty now, make them muddy and make it slippery for firefighters. So anyone who can dial up an inch of rain would be great, but we're not counting on that. We're doing that blacking out work, the identification of hotspots, the hazard tree work that we've mentioned there. So we've touched on sort of the traffic management, the access for residents, and sort of supporting businesses. There's also access that we've been trying to provide for some of the key agencies who have infrastructure in and around Mount Cole, Musical Gully, those sort of areas there, and on private property, or sort of in amongst private property. So obviously power core with power lines, that's a key one. We had Telstra and Optus facilities impacted. Lookout Hill, I'm sure you know Lookout Hill, the massive tower up on the mount. It has a lot of telecommunications infrastructure attached to that. So the mains power is currently off to that facility. So we've assessed the power line easement up to the tower. So power core crews are now in there assessing their infrastructure damage. And I'm sort of hopeful today they're able to make a start on repairing that. And if not today, it'll be very soon. As a backup, they do have a diesel powered generator, 20,000 litre tank up on the top of the hill. It's got about 4 or 5 days running time. So we've actually had to make safe the access road up to the tower, and we've been running about an 8,000 litre diesel truck up there on a bit of a cycle, just to keep that generator running. It runs all the facilities up there. So there's a lot of little moving parts that the fire causes or creates for us. Obviously, the first course of action is get hold of the fire, make sure people are safe, and we start looking at all the essential services that need to be restored, community access back into properties where possible, and then at some point down the track, it'll be broader access for sort of the non-local part of the community. So that's sort of the logic we're running on there. But just want to make sure people are aware that it's a big fire, there's a lot to do. We're certainly going to service that for as long as it needs, but also very mindful that this will generate a lot of requirement for certain members of the community to access the services who a lot of the agencies we represent here today, and they'll all get up and have a quick speak in just a tick. So I think that's probably enough from me, Jim, and we'll have a Q&A session just later on. Thank you.
That's fantastic, John. Thank you very much to you and the team and all the ground crew that supported the effort on Wednesday. I'll now ask Jason Templer from the Victoria Police to speak about their involvement in this.
Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you that haven't been in the meetings, Jason Templer, I'm the Strategic Police Commander for the police response to this emergency. Firstly, I want to probably start by, and I know we've still got a little bit of work to do in this area, but I want to acknowledge Brendan Van, our Municipal Emergency Response Coordinator, and Sergeant in charge of Beaufort for all his work over the last week in the Incident Control Centre, working with John and his team. So they've done a fantastic job. It's certainly not lost on me that probably the safety of this town really came down to the response of our fire agency, so well done. So as John mentioned, we do still have 2 traffic management points in place. That doesn't impact community at the moment. Obviously that's to keep out on, because over the weekend you'll see your local police back around Beaufort this week after a couple of days break, after their support of us down at Ballarat, coordinating and managing the response. You would have seen a lot of police here on Wednesday, all over the place, trying to keep an eye on things, have a check-in for people that don't necessarily belong in the town. I believe Brendan's been doing some of that this morning as well. So our role will change, and we'll support now that recovery and relief work that's going to predominantly being done by council. We'll assist in any way we can. There's probably not much else for us to say. We'll start to scale back our operations unless, of course, the Incident Controller requires additional traffic management points. I'm certainly praying that they don't. And we'll look to give our people just a little bit of respite for this division as well, and hoping the weather, which looks pretty benign for this week, apart from Wednesday, maybe a little bit higher, but overall it looks like it'll be a week where we'll all get an opportunity to go back to some business as usual, and hopefully have a rest. So thanks.
Thanks, Jason, and just like to reiterate my thanks for the Victoria Police have been phenomenal support during this incident, and particularly during the police. I'll now call on Jane from DFFH. And Louise.
Thanks very much for that, Jim. So I guess that you're hearing that we're DFFH, so that's Department of Families, Fairness and Housing. We're here today to inform the community about our Personal Hardship Assistance Program, which is a financial payment for support. And you can register your interest for that payment, either with us today in person, if you are an impacted resident, or you can ring the 1800 number, which is 1800 226 226. Now, all the information is also available on the Vic Emergency app. There is a relief and recovery tab, and all of the information and links to supports are available there at all time in one central source. All right, that's probably enough for me. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jane. The Department of Health, Donna.
Hi everyone, I'm Donna from the Department of Health.
You might have to speak up.
I'm Donna from the Department of Health, based out of Ballarat, from the Emergency Management Response Team. And I just wanted to come up and say thank you for all the support over the last week, and also just to share a couple of updates with you. So apologies for my reading, but I don't think any of it wrong. Today we see the Beaufort Nursing Home relocate back to their site, and also, as you know, the Beaufort Nursing Home residents were relocated yesterday, which is great news, as well as the Beaufort Urgent Care centres reopened to normal hours of operation. The Elmhurst Bush Nursing Centre and other general practices have also reopened, and they're up and running if you need. Fire obviously can have incredible impacts on your health, which I don't need to say to you, and smoke over the coming days, and obviously if you were here before you evacuated, you know that can have some impacts. We have some fact sheets at the back that have some really practical options of how you can stay safe. If you've got pre-existing conditions, the best option there is just to stay inside. And wear a mask if you go outside. Also, in terms of your private drinking water, in terms of tanks and things like that may have been impacted from obviously asbestos or fire retardants or debris even, there are ways that you can obviously check the safety of that and the ways that you can stay safe with the drinking water. The other thing that I really did want to mention is health and wellbeing in terms of mental health. It's a really important one. It's a really tough time for everyone at the moment. So be kind on yourselves, be kind to others, check in on people. And there's also some great information at the back in terms of online resources that you can go through that talks about different stages of trauma and the impacts that might show, and also some great numbers and things like that you can reach out to have a chat. But very important to keep talking and keep learning on each other as you do. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. Emergency Recovery Victoria had an important role from here on, so I'll just ask Angela to come forward to talk about that role and how it unfolds.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, everyone. Certainly at the moment, the wonderful men and women in uniform who've been working so hard the last few weeks on your behalf have your back at the moment, and we're working closely with them as well as the council to understand the impacts ongoing for your community and what your recovery needs are. Our role at Emergency Recovery Victoria is to coordinate recovery across government to make sure that you are getting what you need in terms of support ongoing. So when the trucks and the bells and the whistles and the uniforms have completed their work, their wonderful work, we will still be here making sure that your recovery journey is well coordinated. And as I said, that you do have what you need. So we'll be around for a little while longer, and we will keep working with council to understand the full impacts of this event on your community and support you to get yourselves back up on your feet.
Thanks. It's so good to have that backup support from the ERB. It's been a huge help to council and our team. And to that extent, I perhaps just might take this opportunity to thank the council team. These residents and ratepayers of the Pyrenees Shire, you've got an amazing resource in the team at council. Have been working 24/7 to actually do what needs to be done to work with the authorities to support the community. So I'd like to express my thanks to them and just compliment the excellent work that they do. Moving through some of the other agencies, do we have an EPA rep today? Okay, thanks. You'd like to say?
Yeah, I'll come up. Claire.
It's Claire.
Thanks everyone. Yeah, Claire Dawson from EPA Victoria. I am a senior engagement lead out of EPA's Southwest office based in Geelong. Thanks for having me today. Just a couple of messages from EPA. Firstly, just thinking about smoke impacts again. If we do see a bit more smoke pick up again, do keep an eye on that. EPA has monitoring stations, as I mentioned on Tuesday. It does have an incident monitoring station here in Beaufort as well as in Amphitheatre. Those monitoring stations will be kept in place until at least mid-next week. You can see the data coming from those stations live on EPA's AirWatch application from the EPA website. So if you just look up AirWatch, you can see that there is a map of Victoria. There are some icons over the two towns, and you can click on those and see the live air quality. So yeah, if we do see a bit of smoke come over, you'll see that. If you do have those pre-existing health issues, asthma, lung conditions, yeah, just be mindful of that, and you can check that data live. Also, in terms of clean-up and waste, you'll have your local facilities, landfill facilities, of course, for any building or livestock, so forth. The state government has actually waived landfill fees for the impacted areas. So you'll find that you won't be paying tip fees for bushfire waste for the next couple of months. So that's coming into effect pretty much now, I think. So yeah, probably Council website would have some information about that as well. And yeah, everyone stay safe. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Claire. Is Joe Cameron from Epic?
Thanks, Tim. Hi everyone, Joe Cameron from Agriculture Victoria. I'm based out of Ballarat. So agriculture has a support role in this emergency. So we're providing agricultural relief and recovery. So what we're doing at the moment is we have a number of field teams that are out visiting impacted producers across the fire footprint. That has been going on for the last week and will continue into next week. For those joining online, if anyone does have any urgent animal welfare needs, the number is 1800 226 226. I'll be around after this meeting, so if anyone has any major concerns, please feel free to come and speak to me. I do have some resources at the back of the room at the table in relation to recovery, so please feel free to grab any of those. Thank you.
Great work, Joe. Thank you. Impact of wildlife. We've got Nick and Melinda.
Thank you. Firstly, I'll just reiterate what everyone else has been saying about those who have been affected by the fires in any way. My thoughts are with you all. So, I'm a wildlife coordinator as well as Mel. So we both sit in the planning and ICC. We also feed into a broader operations team. So we've got 3 teams at the moment that are functioning, currently out and about at the moment, trying to gather intel for us. Those teams are consisted of state government, we've got some wildlife volunteers as well, and vets, so they're fairly equipped. I guess the things that we're really keen to get from the community is intel. We can't really operate efficiently unless we get that intel or observations anyway from the field. So obviously the teams are in there, they're chipping away. At some of those areas they can do, where it's safe to do so. But Mel's got a pamphlet there, which has got a 1300 number, which is 1300 322 060. So basically, if you see any injured wildlife affected by fire, make sure you call that number and come to us in the ICC, where we can deploy troops or our teams in the operations side, so we can get to it as quick as possible. So, but yeah, happy to take any questions after this, or we'll be sticking around for a little while. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. This is Richard from PowerCore, or PowerCore Group. PowerCore have been fantastic through this event, and Richard and his team should be congratulated on the work that they've done. Ambulance Victoria? No. Central Highlands Water? So, yeah?
Good afternoon, everybody. Megan Collins from Central Highlands Water. It's business as usual for Central Highlands Water, but we're here today, myself, Carly and Ben are here today for any inquiries that you may have on supply, quality, any customer assistance that might be required, or any replacement of essential water that has been used throughout the fire. So we'll be available for any questions after the session. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks Megan. The Insurance Council of Australia, Vince has been at a couple of these sessions. Is Vince here? No, that's okay. But there's certainly contact information for anyone that has insurance queries. We have a contact number, so happy for you to come and see me and I can pass that on to you. Peer support and counselling. Beaufort Community Health Service has been contracted by council to provide those services to people who have been affected. So I'm not sure if we've got Beaufort Health here today. No, but that's something for you to take on board, and there are a number of other agencies that have also offered to support in that area. With that, I think that's all the agencies. I think we can go to questions now. Are there any questions from... Sorry, I've got Jerry. You got a question, Jerry? Okay. I'd just like to acknowledge the Mayor, who's just come from being out at the fire ground at Raglan, and he's just come to be here at this meeting. The Mayor's been really diligent, getting around the various community meetings, dealing with media, and doing a great job trying to support the community. So thanks, Councillor Vance. So do we have any questions? Yeah.
Hi, Lynn from the Nanangu Creek Land Care Facility. Just mindful of how many dams are within the affected area and how residents can do some sort of sediment traps to prevent runoff when we do get our rain event, and just protecting that quality for livestock and wildlife.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good question. So it's a question. It's an environment question about the number of dams in the catchment and the fact that they'll be impacted by debris and smoke and dust and ash and so forth. Is there someone from the agency that might be able to respond to that question? Perhaps is that an EPA question?
Thanks, mate. Thanks for the question. So what we'll do as response agency is we will have some initial assessments on the rehabilitation type works that need to occur. So we're sort of shifting out of the flames part of the fire to the rehab part of it, while we're still keeping an eye on the black stuff. So what will normally happen is we'll be looking to regulate rehabilitate tracks that have been, the new tracks that have been put in. The existing roads and tracks that need assessing are open, but also there will be an element of that around looking at where waterways need some sort of sediment traps and things like that. So we haven't sort of taken that step just yet, but it will certainly be part of the where to from here. So thanks for the question.
Mayor's got a question.
Yeah, just on the Raglan meeting, Raglan isn't hooked up to any water supply. They're relying on rainwater tanks, and their rainwater tanks are all contaminated. So it's an issue that needs addressing fairly quickly.
Okay, so
the ICC that there were quite a few residents there that are close to the edge of the fire and their water is contaminated. They're going to have to get bottled water or something to get them through there.
Okay, for those online, the question was about rainwater tanks and what people might need to do with their supply. That's possibly something for Central Highlands Water, perhaps. There's certainly information that's available in respect of rainwater tanks. I think, certainly the contamination through action, there is information available and we can make that available on our website if anyone might need it. Perhaps, Mr Mayor, if you'd like to comment, perhaps come forward. I can't quite hear you.
Thanks, Jim. The information is fine, but water is contaminated now and these people have got to drink, they've got to have water to survive. I just suggested that perhaps Central Highlands Water might be able to make a vehicle at the hall in Raglan where there can be some water supplied for these people to access fairly quickly, because it's not just one or two people that have raised the issue, there's quite a few very concerned about it. And just for the information of the people in the hall, I don't know whether Jim's mentioned it or not, but I fielded a phone call this morning from the Governor-General in Canberra, and he wishes to have his best wishes passed on to all the people who are affected, and be assured that they're thinking of you. And at this stage, hopefully they may well be in the area next Wednesday to visit people. Thanks.
Just in relation to that water issue, if you've got a facility that would serve that purpose, we'll certainly make that access available to have that set up there. Cool.
Thanks, George.
Somewhere I heard that in a dire emergency, if people have to leave their home property, there's a contact, I think they said, with Red Cross. You can make a contact there, indicate that you're going to be vacant from that property, so that whoever the authorities have got access to it. I wonder if that contact could be made readily available. How do we contact them to provide that?
Yeah, thanks, George. I mean, you're spot on there. Red Cross was certainly present in all our relief centres, and they were the agency that was primarily responsible for taking details and registration of people that were affected and had to leave their property. So I'm pretty sure Red Cross contact information is available. It's certainly on the flyer that we're able to circulate, so we can make that available for people as well. I don't think we've got a Red Cross presence here today. Okay, any other questions? Perhaps just to reiterate that we do have our information centres open at the moment. So the Information Centre Library in Beaufort and the Information Centre Library in Avoca are open. They'll be open on the weekend, generally between 9 and 3 at Beaufort, and
10 and 1.
And 10 and 1, 10 to 1 in Avoca. So that's a place where you can go and get information. You get all the contact information that's been sort of provided here today will be available there as well. So you're welcome to go there or direct anyone there to get the information they might need. And with that, I reckon we've just about come to the end. If there are no other questions, we have got one question here.
just regarding David's comment here about sedimentation. Certainly my experience in Far East Gippsland, this problem will become worse and worse over coming weeks. If you get heavy rain, it will be a really serious problem.
Yep.
So, you know, I'm just saying it's got to be attended to and planned now. Because if you get heavy rains, it'll be a nightmare, particularly for all farmers.
Yeah. So the question there was really about concern about sediment and ash once there's heavy rain, and what might that impact on waterways and dams and so forth. So that point has been really well noted and well made, and that'll be taken on by the agencies. Thanks very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's about it for today. Thanks very much for coming along, and stay safe and support each other. And perhaps a round of thanks for all our agencies for their efforts today.